Okay, let's get into it. What caused the massacre of about 30,000 people in Zimbabwe 3 years after independence? Two main parties that fought for Zimbabwean liberation struggle will be ZANU, under the leadership of Robert Mugabe, ZAPU, under the leadership of Joshua Nkomo. And these two main parties had military wing. ZANU had ZANLA and ZAPU had ZIPRA. In 1980, when we gained independence, ZANU won the elections, meaning Mugabe was going to be the next prime minister. And the two main troops from these two parties formed the Zimbabwean National Army. And they were also joined by white soldiers from the white minority government that had lost. But there was a problem in that army, as most ZAPU soldiers were disgruntled. They felt alienated by ZANU, as most positions in that army were given to Shona generals or ZANU generals. That was the same thing in the government as well. Most ministers were taken from ZANU party, not ZAPU. And they didn't trust Mugabe as the leader. They didn't see his vision as the leader of Zimbabwe because he was trying to dismantle ZAPU as a party. Mugabe had visions of a one-party state, as Mugabe was mostly influenced by communism. So they deserted the army, and as soon as they left the army, they were called dissidents, and they got into several altercations with the government of Zimbabwe or the Zimbabwe National Army. Now, the remarks that Ino Sikala made in Bulawayo in 1981 made the situation worse because he clearly said ZANU was going to deliver massive blows to ZAPU, cementing the idea that Mugabe was heading for one-party state. So during that commotion, a number of arms was found in Ndebele, and it gave the idea that Zimbabwe was going for a civil war, another war after fighting the white minority government. In the meantime, Mugabe was putting together a group of about 3,500 soldiers, ex-soldiers. And this group wasn't part of the army. It was a special unit that he formed, called the 5th Brigade or the Red Berets, because they were recognized by the Red Berets. Their first commander was Perence Shiri. And as this whole group was trained by the North Koreans. And as soon as they were fully trained, he unleashed them into Ndebele, and that was 1983. And during the quest of looking for dissidents and searching for dissidents in Ndebele, they committed a lot of atrocities against civilians, because most of the civilians were killed, from children, women, young boys. So this group reported directly to the Prime Minister, who was Robert Mugabe, and he termed them, he gave them the name Gukurahundi. That's why that period is known as Gukurahundi. Gukurahundi simply means the rain that comes after the harvest season and washes away the chaff or debris or waste. The 5th Brigade operated in Ndebele for 4 years, from 1983 until 1987, when the peace accord was signed between Joshua Nkomo, and Robert Mugabe. Now, was this a genocide? Was this a tribal war? Definitely a genocide, because they were targeting specifically Ndebele-speaking people and Kalanga-speaking people. And as I've said, a lot of children were killed in the process. Women were raped before they were killed. Young boys were heavily tortured, forced to dig their own graves and buried there. So to this day, there's mass graves in Ndebele. Now, was it a tribal war? Not quite, because it wasn't a war between tribes. Of course, Mugabe is a Shona himself, and the group that he sent was mostly picked from the Shona tribe. So Shona civilians were being told by the media that the operation in Matabeleland was targeting dissidents who were fighting the elected government or constitutional government. And it was only after the war that all these crimes were revealed.